So after signing up for Seesaw, you will have the opportunity to start adding students into your classroom. You'll be doing that by clicking on the wrench in the top right-hand corner. And this is where you can change the name of your classroom, the grade level. You can always add other teachers. For instance, if you had anyone else in your classroom who helps with instruction, they are able to also access this and add activities. So for my purposes, I have it right now set to a class code with one-on-one devices. The advantage of using the one-to-one is once the students are signed in, they will stay signed in on that device. That is also for the phone, the iPad, and the any kind of desktop or laptop that students will use. If you were to do shared devices, it would be using a QR or text student code that they would need to keep and have on hand, kind of like their Clever ID. It is up to you. You also have the ability to, if you have a Google Classroom established, they can sign in through Google and an email. I think it's been a lot easier in my classroom using the one-on-one devices. Once they're logged in, they stay logged in. There's no need to have any more issues with passwords or things like that. So once that is established, you will then go to Manage Students. And Manage Students, you will either add the students here one-on-one, one at a time. For instance, I just would type in their first name, last name. If you don't want to use last names, I know I use initials for my my own personal classroom. You'll just click Add Student, and it will automatically save. If you already have a list of students already typed up on a Word document, you could also copy and paste it here, leaving one name on each line. So here, and then I would just hit the green check. That one would say, would you like to add the students? Okay. If you are typing it in, you will need to hit that green check mark in order to have it save. If you don't hit that green check mark, it will not add. So can't get out of there. So once I've managed the students, I can then set out the home learning student codes. With the home learning codes, they can complete activities, view journal, announcements, but they will not see each other's work. There is an ability to send out a code for your students if that is something you would want them to do, is to share their work with each other. But for home learning purposes of not being able to see student work, they have established this new system. If you are going to send out a PDF to each of your parents individually, this is what it would look like. It has on each page the student login codes with step-by-step instructions on how to get Seesaw on their devices, how to log in with their personalized password. Again, this is strictly for them, like their Clever ID. So each password will be different for each student. If the student is unable to type in the password, they also have the ability to do a QR code. The only issue with sending this QR code out to students is that they would need to print it out to hold it up to their computer. Unless they're doing it on an iPad, they have the ability to then hold it up. After sending, if you don't want to do it that way, you would do download codes. When you do the download codes, it pops up as an Excel spreadsheet for you, and it has each of the students' passwords individually set for you, and you would need to copy and paste that and message those out to your families either through Blooms, or if you already had a Seesaw classroom established, you could then message them out individually to those parents. So, like I said, that would be how you get your student codes for students. If you already had Seesaw in your classroom and your student has their iPad already, they will not need that student code because they already have the Seesaw app established on their device already. Sending out that code is primarily for students who have not had Seesaw set up on a device that they have at their home. I have it right now that they can see each other's work. You can always turn that off and on. New items require approval. That's kind of how I help with accountability and checking to make sure student work is being completed correctly, and you have the ability to enable editing of an item. And I also have a student sample to do that. After establishing your students, you would then need to either enable family access or not. I use this tool to not only do student learning, but this is my common tool of how I reach out to families. So one thing you can do is invite your families. And there are two ways you can do this. Through either a printed invite, which again would be similar to the student one. They would log on to Seesaw, not Seesaw class, and they would do Seesaw of I am a parent, and they would have a QR code that they would need to scan into the device that they're using. You can also share an invite link. This way will be a little bit easier. You copy the link, message it out to parents through Blooms or whatever resources you've been using to contact parents through email, and they would then be able to choose their student's name and have access to their student's journal. It does not give them access to any other child's work, just their own. And if you set up the classroom blog, it will only allow for them to see what you have already approved to go onto that blog. If you're unable to maybe get a hold of some of your families, you are able to put in a mobile number or an email, and they can have different family members. I have, for instance, a few families who the mom, stepmom, grandma, aunt are all on it, and they all have the ability to check on that student's work. After you send an invite, that parent should quickly be able to add on to their journal. Once parents have signed into Seesaw, you will then have abilities to make student announcements. These are ways for you to talk to your students and so they can understand if you've posted a new thing, or even if you're just trying to say a quick hello, you can message them. But they are not able to message you back or message other students in the classroom. So there is that one little downside of I cannot message my students directly unless through comments. As for family announcements, I can send announcements to all families. I can also just do it to certain family members, and they will privately be able to reply without the entire class being able to get their message. There is no reply all option for families when doing messaging. Again, you can then privately message back and forth with families once you've sent out a family announcement.